This is a place.
This is the place.
This is a place. We want to talk about. This is a place.
Thank you for listening to This is the Place podcast. My name is Brandon, and I'm joined by a man formerly known as Fat Jesus, the Dude, and also Aquaman. Now he's just Nate.
Just Nate. Now I go back to being, hey man, you look like my neighbor, my friend, my cousin, my coworker. I get that all the time. I always look like somebody else besides myself. So, but it was fun being Fat Jesus, being the Dude, being Aquaman, and for some people in the pickleball world, being Ernie. But that is now gone.
You actually, finally, cut your dang hair.
I didn't just get a haircut. I got them all cut.
I mean, the biggest shock was when he cut off the ponytail and just all the hair behind that, you're just completely bald. So it kind of looks weird, but I think you can make it work.
We'll make it work. So
Just kidding. I'm one to talk.
all I know, Brandon, is that if I get to that point, and I got the widow's peak going on, right? So I don't get the bald on the crown of the head thing. I inherited that it will just slowly move back. But once I get to the point where it just not enough hair, I'm shaving, dude. I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to do the Bic clean, Mr. Clean shave. I would just, man, the minute I have the excuse to do it, I'm in. My wife hates it, so she won't let me do it. But my two favorite haircut styles are definitely the shaved head and the long hair. For one reason, simplicity, man. You can get up in the morning, put a hat on, take it off. Nobody knows that you haven't done your hair for the day. But when you have short hair, like I have now, I have to do my hair or leave the hat on. It's gone. It's gone.
Looks good though, man. It looks good.
It was for a good cause.
It was for a good cause, and that's the main thing. It wasn't just to cut your hair. You waited all these years, dealt with everything that comes with having a long hair, and you did it for the purpose of donating to charity.
And for the most part, girls in general have the long hair. And I just don't know how they can do it for such long periods of time. I think if I was a lady, I would definitely figure out a short haircut style, because long hair can be a little bit of an annoyance because it gets in the way a lot. It grabs on to seat belts. And found out the other day that it goes down your throat when you're playing pickleball sometimes. It makes you gag. So
you won't have to worry about it anymore.
Don't have to worry about it for now.
Well, we not only got your hair cut, we got it cut at a pretty awesome barbershop as well.
We sure did.
Of course, we couldn't do some momentous event such as this without having a whole purpose of the podcast for it.
Yeah, we got a twofer, right? We got to donate to charity, and we got to meet some cool people at a really cool barbershop.
Yeah, so let's hear about your experience.
So we have Annie Davis with us from Bootlegged Barbershop out in Harriman. How you doing, Annie?
Good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for being on. So will you give us a little quick bio of who you are and how you're involved with the barbershop?
Yeah. So I have a background in marketing and web development for the most part. And right now, ever since getting involved with Bootlegged Barber, I've just been overseeing the marketing, and especially as we grow and move toward franchising, I primarily oversee the marketing strategy and then all of the social media and a lot of the branding that we put out there. And then, of course, getting in touch with different groups and initiatives and things like you guys. So, yeah.
Great. And where did you grow up?
I grew up in Reno, Nevada. So,
Oh, really?
thrilling. wholesome place. So I decided to move as soon as I could. And I literally flipped a coin between California and Utah was what it landed on. So I moved out here to Utah. That was as much of a plan as I had. So luckily it worked out really well, but could have gone either way.
I apologize if you get this a lot, but this kind of funny that we're talking about this today. The first time I've ever watched Reno 911 was today.
That's a funny show.
And I'm just wondering, is anything like that? Is that what it was like being there?
Yeah, kind of. I would say no, but yes. It's I grew up like our field trips were like to casinos, and
That's awesome.
it was just it was normal at the time.
I went to Harmon's for my field trips, so
See, at least that's something. That's better. I remember the teachers being like, okay, just try not to breathe that much because it's just so filled with cigarette smoke. And we're like third graders marching through like just people that have been drunk all night and all morning and gambling. And it was normal. So coming here, I was like, where are the casinos? Like, where is everything? So it's been an adjustment, but I love it. I can't imagine, especially now with 2 kids and like our family, I can't imagine having them anywhere else. So
How old were you when you decided to get out of Reno?
I believe I was 19. I think I had just turned 20, so right around there. So I graduated high school, worked a couple jobs there for a little bit, and then it's just such a small town. So I kind of feel like I felt like even if I went to the city borders or the city edges, like I already knew someone who knew someone, or I'd heard of it, and I just was dying to go somewhere that I didn't know anyone and I could explore. And I still feel that way here in Utah. Like there are still so many times that I drive somewhere and I'm like, where am I? I've never seen this store, this little bakery, and it's cool. So I like it.
I think I've only driven through Reno on the way to Sacramento. So we pit stopped at a casino to go to the bathroom. The girlfriend I was dating at the time, we were going to like pull over and sleep for the night, but she ended up yelling at me for gambling while she was in the bathroom. She yelled at me all the way to Sacramento. So it worked out. So Reno, that's what I was thinking about Reno is getting yelled at for how many hours it takes to get from Reno to Sacramento. So
I feel like you saw the whole town. I mean, there you go. That's kind of the whole experience. So
and I do love the Reno 911. Yeah, that's a funny show. I haven't seen very many episodes, but the ones I've seen are pretty funny. So
yeah, I show a lot.
So you moved to Utah, and then you've started working with Bootlegged. So do you do other marketing for other companies, or is it just primarily Bootlegged?
Yeah, so I started back in 2018. I started my own marketing web development agency, and then did that for quite a few years. Loved it, but was kind of, I guess, tired of just being such a solo entrepreneur. Like it did really well. We were fortunate to work with a ton of clients, but I really missed having other people around to learn from and just having like that team environment. And I kind of missed that anyway. And then COVID happened. And then I was like really, really tired of my home office and just being like my whole team, all my employees were really remote and everything. So at that point, I had kind of been looking for something new, a new opportunity, and then actually was approached and was able to have my company that I founded be acquired. And that was back in January 2021. And so, yeah, been fortunate to kind of work with the Bootleg team and everything ever since. So it's been a really fun transition.
And is this the only location you guys have, the one in Harriman?
Right now, yeah. So we have one in American Fork, but we're currently relocating that one. And so right now, the only one that's open is Harriman. And then our new American Fork one and the new location should be open within a few months, I believe.
Okay. And what makes Bootleg different than a typical barber shop, or let's say even Great Clips for that matter? What makes it different?
Yeah, I'd say first of all, the culture. So from the whole experience, we try to make sure that whether someone's just getting like a fade or a trim or like a whole, what we call the works, which is like the most extensive service with the hot towel and everything, no matter what they're getting that full, real, authentic barbershop experience. So we always try to keep the same culture and the same kind of traditional feel that barbershop started with, but combining it with new technology, kind of new age training and all the latest techniques and all that. So we want it to feel like a full experience, not just how great clips or sports clips. You kind of walk in, you're just a name, you're just a number. Like our barber's Gil, who you were with, he knows most of his customers by first name. Like he remembers all the details about their life. And I think they just really make a great connection with their clients.
Yeah, there's definitely a different feel in there. I mean, I never went to a barbershop in the 50s or whatever, but it kind of encapsulates what I imagine it would have been like.
Yeah. We really try for that. And it's funny, my husband hadn't ever been to any barbershop, like more upscale one, because he cuts his own hair, which is horrible to say on a podcast about like barber, but some things never change. Pick my battles. So, but I had him go in to see what he thought, and he loved it. And then we had him go to a year ago, we had him go to a few competitors just to kind of see if there's anything we can learn, see, if there's something we could be doing better. And it kind of opened both of our eyes to what is out there and what, especially guys. We serve males and females, but primarily our customers are guys. And so doing that kind of experience of kind of all around the valley and shopping around, it really showed us the differences out there that a lot of the barbershops have.
And it's not to say that those great clips or sports clips are horrible companies by any means, but
yeah,
they're a discount haircut place and you get what you're paying for, right?
Yep, exactly. And they're pretty, they're typically pretty quick and easy to get into and all that. And I think that's a difference as well. Like ours, we're often waitlisted, and so like we accept walk-ins, but lately we just had to kind of redo our whole walk-in system because we've gotten so many and people are so excited about it, and we're trying to make sure that we're always giving that really high-end experience. So yeah, like you said, it's just kind of a whole different demographic, a whole different feel.
Yeah, it's almost more like a club than and kind of a hangout because, like you say, the other ones you're kind of just going for a quick haircut, but I feel like I just want to go in there and hang out. It's not like I want to get in quick and just get my hair cut. I want to talk with the guys and just be there in a good environment,
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I'm glad you said that. That's what we're going for. So it's interesting because when I'm in the shop and when some of our team is, we're always noticing that there are people just lingering and that they're just talking and having fun, and it's good to see that. So we want it to have that appeal of more than just a haircut, but like, the team there and there's a reason to want to stay around.
Well, I just was loitering the whole time I was there, chatting with you and some others, but Nate was the one that really had the experience of, getting the haircut and the whole shebang. So, Nate, maybe you should tell us what you thought of everything being in the chair yourself.
It's a fun experience. It is different, like we've mentioned, than going to a barbershop in general is different than going to a regular haircut store. What do you want to call it, right? Depending on if you get like the hot towel. You ever had a shave before, Brandon? I didn't do that while I was
I've
there,
never
but
had a shave, no.
that's a different experience as well, which they offer there as well.
I've had a lineup with the straight edge razor, but I've never had a shave.
Yeah, it's a unique and a different experience when you go to a barbershop. And this one was definitely towards the high end of a barbershop, I would say, compared to your average Joe barbershop, which was, it was a lot of fun. And then she mentioned Gil. Gil was just an awesome dude. Sounds like he has a lot of experience cutting hair. And the one thing I did like about him was a lot of times I go into, when I get haircuts, I can't say it's the best haircut I've had in at least 2 years. We'll say that. But normally I go get I don't really have like a style. Like if it, kind of like my body weight, it changes. If you don't see me very often, my hair or my body weight's going to change on one or the other, right? When you see me. So I like going into a place and saying, hey, what do you think needs to be done? And then a lot of the times the person cutting the hair just kind of like shrugged their shoulders, like, I don't know, I don't care. But Gil, like, you could tell he took it serious, kind of like, oh, well, because we chopped my hair obviously off and we didn't really know what we're going to have to play with after he cut off the hair, right? But he had kind of like, it was kind of cool to see him like cut the hair, and he kind of looked at it like, okay, I know where I'm going with this. So he just did it, which I like. Instead of asking 1,000 questions of my opinion, like so nervous, took my hair, he's like, hey, I got you. I'll take care of you. I'll make you look good. I mentioned to you guys before, the last time I donated my hair, the lady, I kind of did the same thing. I said, have at it. And once you cut the hair, whatever you think looks best. And when we got done with the haircut, she put the mirror around my back, and I looked like Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell. And it was kind of fun for a little bit, for the next 2 days, going and seeing people that have, known me with long hair for the last few years to look at me and go, oh, Nate, you cut your hair. Cool. They didn't know how to be nice and say it looked crappy, right? And I wore a hat for 2 days, and then I had to go to another to another haircut location and have them fix it because it just looked awful. But I can honestly say that, yeah, Gil did a fantastic job. And so far, the few people who have actually seen my hair have had good things to say about it. They're not doing the whole, oh, good job, Nate, you cut your hair. So
it looks really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm so glad to hear that. And it's interesting you said that about Gil, because that's one of the first things that I noticed too is and that we all love about him is he's so confident. Like he knows. And it's, like you said, a lot of people want to come in and just be like, I don't know, just make it look good. And it takes a lot of experience and also just confidence in someone's role to be able to be like, I got this. This is what I think. But when you were getting your haircut, Andy, the other girl there that at Bootlegged, she and I were sitting there talking and just saying how it took us both a long time to get used to watching Gil be like, this is what you need, because he's always right. He always gets it right. But, it takes a while for us to kind of watch and be like, oh, he's just going for it. Like he didn't even ask him. And, but unless someone comes in with a specific idea, but he knows better than anyone I've ever seen what's going to look good. And it's funny because when we first were talking with Gil about this, and I said, we're just going to cut off the ponytail basically. And that's as far as I had planned. Like you can see my hair's long. I don't even know what comes next.
Yeah.
So I was like, and then that's it. I don't know. And Gil was like, okay, but then what? Like what kind of, like, then what are we going to do? How's it going to look? What about his beard? And I was like, no, you're just cutting off the ponytail. I don't know.
We have a purpose here, Gil. Come on.
Yeah.
Didn't think that far.
And yeah, he was like, okay, well, we'll like he wanted to know all the details and make sure it was done right. And he's a good guy. So I'm glad that it went well. So it was fun to watch too. It was a dramatic transformation.
Yeah, I'll reach back to itch my neck, and I out of habit like flip my hair that's not there to scratch my neck, things like that. And then when you go from a long hair, I don't know if you ever experienced this, Andy, but you go from having long hair to short hair. The first time you wash your hair in the shower, you like put a whole bunch of shampoo in your hair or your hand. You're like, oh, I only need like an ounce of that. So it's been a little bit of adjusting to get used to it. But the one thing too, going back to Gil, is sometimes when you go get your haircut, for a guy mostly, they do your hair up all schmazzy and you look amazing leaving the shop. But then the next day you're like, what do I do from here? But he made it so easy and it's done so well that I've been able to replicate what he did, which is saying a lot for me because I'm not in that arena to know how to do stuff like that. So at least for the next week, I'll look like I just came from Gil until it starts growing out again. But
and then you can come back.
Then I got to come back. That's how they get you, Brandon.
Yeah,
go.
We tell Gil to only make it look perfect for 7 days, because if it was longer, we wouldn't have customers that come back as frequent.
Yeah, smart man.
Well, I definitely need some help with my hair, so maybe I'll have to come in next. I don't have as much as Nate did, but maybe Gil can figure out something.
He can work with it. We have a couple girls on our team that have various random questions and like have little baby hairs along the forehead, and they're always like, oh, Gil just fixed it. Or like, you know what, I have to go to Harriman today. I've photos to do and whatever. And they come back just looking fabulous. And we're like, did Gil do your hair again? Did you go there for Gil? He's a total popular rock star on the team. So,
but I'm sure that, we're talking a lot about Gil, but I'm sure everybody there, they know what they're doing and they are dedicated to the craft.
Yes, they are. And we're, I'd say, fairly particular about who we hire on there. Like we take newer students out of school, and we actually work with a school now locally to kind of help their intern, or to help their students while they're still interns and right before they graduate. But we definitely choose very carefully who works in the shop, because it's not, we can teach the experience and we can teach the skills, but having someone who cares as much, like what you guys were experiencing, is
Right.
really important, because we don't want someone who's just like, yeah, good enough, they're not going to notice, or like that's enough that it looks okay. We want someone who really takes pride in it. So
Yeah, that's important. Well, one thing I really liked about it, my favorite thing was the aprons they had, but I like the whole design of the place. It's kind of a little more of rustic feel. Maybe you can explain it a little bit better conceptually than I can, Annie, but tell us what went into that and the design choices.
yeah, so I love hearing anyone say that, because it was a longer process than I would have imagined in terms of the design and the build out. So especially as we move toward franchising, we're having to kind of go in and make sure that every detail that we've thought of and that we've put in is actually going to work and be scalable. Meaning, like if we're going to have franchises all the way up to the East Coast, and some sort of flooring is only okay in moderately humid environments or whatever, there's so much that goes into it. But we were able to kind of take the whole concept of what we had in mind and kind of built upon, and then just make tweaks so that it would look a little bit more high end. And I would say we spent a lot of time looking at old traditional barbershops and then kind of comparing it to the modern touches that we want. So like at the Harriman shop, there's a lot of open windows, not a lot of natural light. We were there kind of in the evening, but if you guys were there 6 hours earlier, you'd see it's just full of sunlight. It's a whole different angle. But then you saw like the chairs, for example, have that old, traditional, authentic barbershop feel. So we wanted it to make it look old fashioned, but on purpose. So it doesn't look like outdated, but it's a very fine line between outdated versus just a classic feel. So everything that we do with there is very intentional, all the way down to the logo. Like there's little tick marks. I don't know if you'll show the logo on the podcast, but there's these little marks that go like almost like a clock or a half clock. And we went in and even looked at like the spacing of those and how those little tick marks go against the font in the logo and the spacing and all of that. So there's just so much detail work that goes into it. But I think we're all super excited with how it turned out.
Yeah, a lot of attention to details, right?
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, where did the name come from?
Yeah, so the Bootlegged Barber was actually founded by a couple in Utah here, and they did a phenomenal job kind of getting that brand up and going, and kind of built it from the ground up. And we actually started partnering with them a couple of years ago. So earlier this year, they decided to kind of stay in that, what's the word, kind of homegrown, smaller shop feel, because they wanted to focus on a work-life environment and make sure that they have a good balance, because they had quite a few kids. And so we kind of parted ways, and they ended up going a different direction with a different brand. And then we've kind of continued to build upon the foundation of what they did an awesome job building for Bootleg. So the whole concept of the name kind of came from just the prohibition and the whole story about how, that whole era and how everything was, and how if you look at all the old photos, and just if you really just Googled like barbershops from the 50s or from the 40s and just all the way back to when it started, there's just a whole culture. And like you said, you did an awesome job pointing out how you just wanted to stay and just wanted to hang out, essentially. And that's kind of how it started, as all these men would just want to hang out in the barbershop. And it just started from there. And we've been able to do a lot of cool things with it. And I think the name itself really draws in a lot of people before they even know what to expect in the shop. And then when they see kind of the look and feel and all the details, they get even more excited. So
is there a speakeasy in the back?
Not that I can officially confirm or deny.
Okay.
I'm totally kidding. If the IRS is listening, we deny it. There's not one.
All right.
We wanted the style to infer that there could be, but there's not. But
it's just fun to imagine that maybe there's a chance, right?
I know. I told them to like pretend and put a secret door, but they were like, no, that's a horrible idea. We'll get in a lot of trouble. But yeah.
I have two services I wanted to talk about real quick. Is one you have called badges, tags, and silvers, where you basically get a kind of a discount for your policemen, your firemen, and military and seniors.
Yeah.
That's where the silvers come from. But one thing I really liked about your shop that I didn't know about until we went in there is that you have one called Sean and Friends. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah. So that one is also, honestly, it's my favorite. a lot of opportunity to talk about it because it doesn't always, it's kind of a unique niche and for a unique need. But so one of the original founders has a son with special needs. And so it's been really near and dear to her heart to make sure that anywhere possible, but especially barbershops, that they're able to accommodate people who may need a quieter environment or less sensory stimulation. And so the Sean and Friends kind of just came out from that. So, I mean, knowing like, thinking of your service that you had there, it may have not seemed like a lot going on to any of us, but thinking like, I used to work with a bunch of kids with autism. And so that's something not related to this. It just happened to be something I'm really passionate about.
I have 2 kids with autism.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why I was like, I'm so glad we picked your shop. I'm like, this is so awesome. I wish I would have known about it earlier. It would be great to have you guys 10 plus years ago when they were really young. But yeah, so that was like, oh, this is now my new shop because of this service right here.
That's awesome. That's before I worked there. I was reading their menu and was like, oh, love it. Sold. Like, because I thought the same thing. So small world. But yeah, so a little off topic. My husband and I met working with people with disabilities, primarily for me, like severe autism, nonverbal. That's like my total passion, my thing. So anyway, going back to the Sean and Friends, there's such a need for it, as I'm sure you remember with your kids, and just the bright lights, like the mirror ring lights, that even down to like the sound and the sensation of the electric razors, and that it's a lot of sensory stimulation. So we're able to really provide a more unique environment for those that need it. And it's something that we don't do a ton of just because not everyone knows about it and not everyone requests it. But when we do, we love it. And it's so rewarding. It's rewarding just to see how happy the clients are and that they can actually a lot of times enjoy it. So it's not something that's like a haircut, or feeling good about themselves doesn't have to be something that's so stressful that they have to just like grit and bear it, but they can actually advocate for themselves and say, hey, I need the light dimmer. Or a parent can say, hey, they just really need to wear the ear blocking and sound blocking headphones, and we're able to really work with it. So
for us, it was more of like getting their haircuts, especially when they were younger. The sensory stuff they did pretty well with. It's just I always worried about the person cutting the hair maybe not understanding my kids, because a lot of kids with autism, they look normal from the outside until you dive in and start getting to know them.
yeah.
So I could tell a couple of the beauticians, you guys could say, we're getting a little frustrated with them because they thought like this kid is just not well behaved. And I'm like, no, he's on the autism spectrum. He doesn't understand. Or they ask him questions and they just don't understand. So it's really cool that you guys has taken that initiative to be like, hey, we get it. And we know, and it's cool going in too, if you make an appointment with you guys, that you know that that's the kid you're going to be dealing with. And so they can prepare for the situation. So
yeah. And it like you said, it's also about, you hit the nail on the head, for me at least, as a parent, knowing that the barber, the person doing the service, you don't have to feel uncomfortable for them, because my son has had a speech delay. He's 5 now, but he was essentially nonverbal till he was 3.5. And so taking him to get a haircut, like I understood him after years of speech therapy, but no one else did. He might as well have been speaking a different language. So when we take him anywhere, they'd ask questions and then they wouldn't understand his answer. And so then they would either look to me and say, what did he say? Or they just wouldn't know what to do and they'd put on like music or a show. And so I wish we had known about it, just for the sake of kind of being able to prep someone like, he totally understands you. He just has a hard time pronouncing words, or he doesn't have a lot of language. But I think, knowing now and looking back, the Sean and Friends service is just so beneficial for so many kids and just people in different situations. So
the great thing is that it's at a pretty significant discount. Like me, when my kids were younger, I would have paid more money just to know I'm going somewhere that's going to understand my kid's situation and would take care of them. So yeah, it's great service. Super excited about it, and hopefully we don't get you guys too popular with that.
We are
that special, maybe
figure it out.
So what's up next? You mentioned franchising. You guys are looking to expand to more locations pretty soon?
Yeah. Yep. So We should have our new, hopefully American Fork area location up in the next few months. And then throughout this year, we're going to be working on the kind of final legal paperwork steps with the franchising. And then from there, we have quite a few people interested already. It's just a matter of, like we talked about the build out and the design. We have to essentially go back and look at all the documentation we've done and make sure that that's scalable and that we're going to be setting up our franchisees for success. When you take what was like a mom and pop shop and a awesome single location company, and then you start looking at franchising, there's so much that happens in between that I wasn't aware of until being involved with this. Like, if the lighting was from a local Utah company that was a family friend and it's incredible, but they can't do 100 locations or they can't ship them or things like that. So yeah, there's a lot of that we need to go in and just look at and make sure that it's going to be the best possible situation, that we're having all of our processes and everything documented as best we can to make sure that it'll be smooth sailing for them. But I'm excited. We have a big few years ahead of us and a really good trajectory with how we're growing. And just seeing the Harriman shop hasn't even been open a year, and it's usually slammed. Like, we just had to redo our waitlist procedure because poor Gail was having to call people every day at the end of the day to try to get them in at the next possible opening. So between kind of always trying to hire more barbers and work with the barber schools locally to help, one, give back to the industry and help their students be set up for success, and two, to be able to kind of always have an eye on new upcoming graduates so we can hopefully be able to hire them as we grow. We have a lot of exciting plans coming up.
Well, we're excited to see you guys continue to grow. I mean, I think we're both on board on Team Bootlegged Barbershop, so we appreciate the chance to have this Nate finally get his haircut after all this time we've been talking about it, and I don't think we could have picked a better place, so we really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And Nate, you better just take some prenatals and grow that hair out as fast as you can.
Prenatals.
Yeah, got to get some more donations out the door.
Yeah, the charity that I chose is called Children with Hair Loss, and I think once every 2 years or so they do like a kind of a convention type thing where everybody can go and get their hair cut at once, to have multiple people at once. But they've had to postpone it forever because of COVID, right? The last few years. Yeah. But I saw on their website, I think 2024, they're doing one. So I got another 2 years. I can grow it out again. And
perfect. I'll grow mine out and I'll be ready too.
But in the meantime, I'll bring my kids over to your place. So
yeah, perfect. I keep saying my son has bright red hair, and I'm like, that kid needs to like grow it out and donate it, because someone would love like a ginger wig.
Yeah,
that's a really good point.
It's like a premium. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was awesome having you guys in, and you're more than welcome back anytime. So we're glad we have 2 more on Team Bootlegged.
Yeah. So how do they find you guys?
So our website is bootleggedbarber.com. We are also on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn as well. So, but if you want to check out our website, and then there's a way to book right from there. And then there's also a little contact form. If anyone has any questions, they can fill that out and it'll go right to our email.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. We really appreciate it. So this has been awesome.
At the beginning, we were kind of joking about, I don't have the most hair. I don't have as much hair as I used to in my younger years. What I usually do is I just get my sister-in-law to cut my hair, but it was such a great experience. I want to have a reason to go there.
Well, maybe what you should do, go ahead, have your sister-in-law cut your hair because you don't want to offend her, right? Grow your beard out for a few weeks. Go in there and do the straight shave. Like, I think that's something every guy needs to experience at least once, getting the old-fashioned shave done. So I think if you don't at least get your hair cut there, you should go in and get your shave on.
On the mission, when we had to go get our haircuts, that was one of the most fun things. I mean, you're a missionary. Like, you get enjoyment out of the small things, right?
Right.
But the East Coast barbershops, man, they're something else. They are a full culture event. But it's just so much going on. Everybody's having a good time. We had this Dominican guy always cutting our hair, and he made this little special tool. On the East Coast, they call it a shape up. I think out here they call it a lineup, but he would give us the whole thing so we looked really, really nice and clean. And I got a little bit of that feeling back going into the barbershop at Bootlegged. And so I just think that having more things like that out here is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean it's a different experience going to a barbershop compared to, like we mentioned, with any sports clips or great clips or dollar cuts, super cuts,
Fantastic Sam's.
Fantastic Sam's, like all those places, great. They do your
They're
hair.
not bad. We're not saying they're bad.
But it is kind of the get you in, get you out type of location where I feel like the barbershops, especially this one, Gil was very easy to talk to, had some cool stories. He grew up in California and he's cut quite a few celebrities' hairs. Is that how you said? Celebrities' hairs? Cut the hairs. I had some celebrity clients, so that's kind of a cool thing. So, but yeah, he was very personable, very friendly, very family oriented, and it was a good time. It was a good experience. I had a lot of fun, even though I was the one getting a haircut. But
you were on the platform for the whole event.
I was on the platform. It's just like
I was just sitting there watching you.
It's not very often where you're getting a haircut and you don't want it to end, right? You're just like, hurry up, get this thing over with. But it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. So if my wife would let me have a shaved face, I might have asked to go through that experience too. But I already look like a little boy with the short hair. So getting the shave done too, then I'd look a lot younger than I should be. That I am. Not than I should be, than I am. Gil did say he said, wow, you do look younger. And then he asked what my age was. He's like, oh, wow, I thought you were a lot younger than that. I said, yeah, I'm very, very immature for my age. So now I look it now too. So that's why we get along, Brandon, right?
That's why we get along. Yep.
So the only question I have that I didn't get a chance to ask Annie, and I don't know if she knows the answer to, but I'm hoping a listener can chime in and we could have a whole episode on this topic. But
and you better believe we will.
And you better believe we will. It's tipping, right? I've always I'll tell one little quick story. I've told you the other day, but growing up, when we go get our haircut, like your parents pay for it, right? And then I get home from my mission, and one secret I have if you go to Great Clips or Super Cuts is it's kind of a gamble when you go there because you might have a good person, you might have a bad. But once you find somebody who knows what they're doing, you go in there, kind of like schedule an appointment with them, so to speak, and make sure you get that person. But I was going to this girl at Great Clips by my house for a few months, like 5-6 months. And then one day she cut my hair really fast, and she says, okay, we had to sit and talk for a minute. And I think she was trying to get to see if I would ask her out on a date, and I didn't catch those signals because I'm not very good with that stuff. But she goes, we have to sit here and talk for a minute because if I basically check you out, I'll get in trouble because the haircut has to be so long in the Great Clip system, part of the franchise. And I said, oh, so you guys get paid by the haircut or by the hour? And she said, we get paid by the hour plus tips. And I go, plus tips? I had no idea that you're supposed to. I'm just a young 21-year-old kid who doesn't know how the real world works. And I'm like, oh my goodness, she's probably like, this guy's a jerk because he's come. This is like the 6th time he's been here and he's never tipped me once.
And she didn't even get a date out of it.
And she didn't even get a date out of it. So maybe yeah. But I was embarrassed at that point. I think I ever went back after that. But that one, the last time, I did tip her then, but I don't think I went back because I was like really embarrassed that I wasn't tipping her before. So I didn't know. It just feels like. So my question number 1 is, how much do you tip for a haircut that it's not so much that you're being so generous, but too little that you offend them? I just want to know what's the amount that makes them go, thanks. And they're not going to slice your neck next time you come in for a haircut.
Not gonna go full Sweeney Todd on you.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my question for today. And then we can have a whole episode about other things that you have to tip for and what you're supposed to be paying. But we'll leave that for another episode.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give you guys a tip. Go check out Bootlegged Barber, and you will not be disappointed. Thanks again to them for giving us such a great, hospitable experience.
Yeah, check them out. Go give them a visit. And if you don't mind checking out Children with Hair Loss, their charity, even though if you may not have long hair, there's ways to donate to them or buy a t-shirt, whatever, to help the cause. The reason I went with this charity over the others that are out there, because from what I could gather, they're a true charity. There's not a lot of people making money on the back end like other places do. And the child who receives the hair gets it completely free. So a lot of other places do charge for the wig for them to get one. So go check out that charity if you want to make a donation with your hair or with your money. That'd be awesome. But guessing Brandon will put a link to their charity along with the bootleg.
Thanks for listening to This Is a Place podcast.
See you next week.